May 1943. Tunis, Tunisia. The American soldier's shadow fell across Oberfeldwebel Karl Meier's face as he knelt in the desert sand. After 26 months fighting under Rommel, surviving artillery barrages and British encirclements, this moment, this American pointing an M1 Garand rifle at his chest, was surely his last. Nazi training had prepared him for this inevitability. The Americans execute prisoners, Gefreiter Weber had insisted during their final briefing, especially SS and experienced officers. Across the North African battlefield that spring, 253,000 Axis soldiers confronted a reality they had been systematically conditioned to fear: American captivity. German soldiers made final preparations as Tunisia collapsed under Operation Torture's overwhelming force. Many swallowed family photographs to prevent desecration, others wrote hasty goodbyes in pocket diaries. Some exchanged boots with dead comrades, following rumors that Americans executed only those with combat-worn footwear, indicating frontline service. The Oberkommando der Wehrmacht's final directive to Afrika Korps units facing imminent capture had been explicit: surrender only when ammunition is exhausted. Expect no quarter from American forces. This message, delivered April 29, 1943, reinforced 2 years of systematic indoctrination. Wehrmacht's psychological operations had meticulously constructed American soldiers as vengeful, undisciplined cowboys, eager to demonstrate brutality. German military newspapers, distributed to North African units, contained detailed accounts, all fabricated, of American atrocities against German prisoners in Sicily and Italy. Nazi propaganda films screened to troops depicted American soldiers as either undisciplined gangsters from Chicago or pampered weaklings incapable of desert warfare. Both characterizations converged on one certainty: Americans lacked European military traditions regarding prisoner treatment. They will shoot you rather than feed you, instructors warned during capture resistance training. Military records show that 72% of German units in Tunisia received this specific briefing between January and May 1943. Oberfeldwebel Karl Meier closed his eyes as the American soldier approached, waiting for the shot. Instead, a chocolate bar landed in the sand before him. "Hershey's," the American said in accented German. "Eat, you look hungry." Within hours of surrender, German prisoners experienced the first cognitive fracture in their ideological armor. American processing centers, established near Bizerte and Tunis, provided immediate medical attention, clean water, and K-rations containing 3,200 calories of unfamiliar items: powdered coffee, sugar packets, processed cheese, crackers, canned meat, and chocolate. Wehrmacht rations in the final weeks had dwindled to 1,200 calories daily, often reduced to hard bread and ersatz coffee made from roasted grain. Medical inspection records from temporary enclosure #5 outside Tunis document the physical condition of incoming prisoners: average weight 15 to 20% below standard, widespread vitamin deficiencies, moderate dehydration. American quartermasters distributed 432,000 rations during the first week of processing, unprecedented logistics for feeding enemy combatants. As the afternoon heat intensified, American MPs distributed water in metal canteens. A supply truck arrived with wooden crates. The Americans pried them open, revealing thousands of glass bottles. Oberfeldwebel Karl Meier watched an American sergeant pull one from crushed ice, condensation forming on the dark glass. "Coca-Cola," he announced, demonstrating the bottle opener attached to the truck's side. For men who expected execution, this brown, fizzing liquid represented incomprehensible confusion. Reich propaganda had prepared them for American barbarity. Instead, they encountered American refrigeration in the desert, cold drinks in May heat. The systematic recalibration of reality had begun, a psychological transformation that would accelerate over the coming months as these prisoners journeyed from expected death to unexpected abundance, their understanding of America, and ultimately of Nazi Germany itself, undergoing complete reconstruction through the simple, devastating mathematics of hamburgers and Coca-Cola. June 1943. Temporary Processing Center #7, Mata, Tunisia. The line of German prisoners stretched 300 meters along the perimeter fence. Mess tents had been erected overnight. American efficiency transforming captured Italian barracks into feeding stations. Oberfeldwebel Karl Meier shuffled forward, aluminum tray in hand, watching American cooks in white t-shirts and paper caps scoop food onto each compartment. The centerpiece puzzled him, a flat, round meat patty between two bread discs. Hamburger, the American server announced, adding a ladle of brown sauce. Ketchup, he explained, pointing. Then came boiled corn, mashed potatoes with gravy, green beans and applesauce. The final station offered paper cups of cola or coffee with real sugar and powdered milk. Total calories, 3,750, triple what Afrika Korps soldiers had received in their final weeks of battle. Quartermaster records document that 127,000 hamburger patties were served during the first week of June 1943 at North African processing centers. The American military's standardized recipe required 80% lean ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, dehydrated onion, salt, and pepper, ingredients unimaginable to German soldiers who had subsisted on hardtack and canned sardines during the final operations. By mid-June, 30,000 German prisoners had been selected for transport to the United States. Military intelligence prioritized high-ranking officers, specialized technical personnel, and dedicated Nazi Party members for American internment. The remainder would be processed at British facilities in North Africa. Those bound for America received comprehensive medical examinations, delousing treatments, and new clothing, not prisoner uniforms, but surplus American military garments, with POWs stenciled across the back. The USS General William Mitchell, a transport vessel designed for 5,000 American troops, carried 4,825 German prisoners on its June 29 departure from Oran. Naval commissary logs record daily provisions: breakfast pancakes with syrup, scrambled powdered eggs, coffee, lunch, soup, sandwiches, alternating between processed meat and peanut butter, fruit, dinner, meat with potatoes, vegetables, bread, occasional cake or pudding. The ship's galley operated continuously, producing 15,000 meals daily using industrial mixers, steam kettles, and conveyor ovens that German naval engineers studied with professional curiosity. Below decks, Meier listened as Hauptmann Fischer, formerly of the Luftwaffe Technical Division, described American production capabilities. The Mitchell is one of 24 identical ships, Fischer explained, mass-produced in 13 months. Each American shipyard completes one every 17 days. This revelation, single American shipyards outproducing German maritime construction capacity, created the first cracks in many prisoners' belief in ultimate German victory. The Mitchell maintained refrigerated storage at 34 degrees Fahrenheit, preserving fresh meat and dairy products throughout the Atlantic crossing. After passing through submarine-patrolled waters, where German U-boat commanders had standing orders to target prisoner transports, considering their human cargo acceptable casualties, the ship's complement received fresh milk and ice cream. Naval records confirm that on July 8, midway across the Atlantic, prisoners were served chocolate ice cream, a dessert most hadn't tasted since before the war. Crossing into American waters, prisoners crowded the designated deck areas, straining for first glimpses of the enemy homeland. The illuminated skyline of Norfolk, Virginia, appearing on July 13, defied Nazi descriptions of American cities suffering blackouts and bombing damage. The sprawling, brilliantly lit port facilities, bustling with activity at 11 p.m., demonstrated industrial capacity that contradicted all German intelligence assessments. At Norfolk Naval Station, the disembarking prisoners passed through processing stations, receiving immunizations, identification cards, and their first true hamburgers, these made with fresh beef rather than the reconstituted version served in North Africa. The Central Mess Hall, operating 24 hours daily, served American classics, hamburgers with cheese, French fried potatoes, and milkshakes mixed in electric blenders. Cost per prisoner meal, 27 cents, more than 3 times the ration allocation for German civilians. The rail journey inland revealed an America untouched by war's devastation, Prisoners observed illuminated cities, harvested fields, and factories operating at night from Pullman coach windows. No bombed buildings, no refugee columns, no war damage whatsoever. The countryside flowing past contradicted every assurance of Reich propaganda. America wasn't weakened by conflict, but energized by it, its productive capacity accelerating rather than diminishing. This visual evidence, more powerful than any verbal argument, initiated the second phase of psychological transformation. These men who had expected execution were instead being transported across an intact, abundant continent on comfortable passenger trains serving 3 hot meals daily, their understanding of global reality undergoing irreversible revision with each passing mile. August 1943. Camp Fannin, Texas. The morning sun beat down as Meres and 300 other German prisoners lined up outside the mess hall. The smell of bacon drifted through the air. In Germany, civilians got 1 egg per month. Here the camp served eggs 3 times weekly. The kitchen made food for 3,500 men each day. American cooks worked big stoves that could cook 40 hamburgers at once. The United States built 511 main prison camps across 46 states. These camps held 425,000 German prisoners at their peak. Unlike European camps, American prison camps had electric lights, hot water, and flush toilets. Most had sports fields, theaters, and classrooms. Camp Fannin's barracks housed 50 men each in wooden bunks, with real mattresses, 2 wool blankets, and cotton sheets changed weekly. When winter came, coal-burning stoves kept rooms warm. "We get 3 meals every day." Mirror wrote in a letter home that would be checked by censors. "We have meat twice daily. We get fresh milk. Even the guards eat the same food." He didn't write about the hamburgers on the menu 3 times weekly. His family in Hamburg received only 100 grams of meat weekly, when it was available. Camp meals followed a weekly pattern. Monday, pancakes, syrup, sausage for breakfast, ham sandwich, soup for lunch, pot roast, potatoes, carrots for dinner. Tuesday, oatmeal, toast, fruit for breakfast, hamburgers, fries for lunch, chicken, corn, beans for dinner. Each day brought 3,200 to 3,600 calories per prisoner. Guards ate the same meals. Daily food cost per prisoner 75 cents, 3 times what German civilians received in food value. Every camp had a PX store where prisoners could buy things with money they earned working. The work was mostly farm labor, kitchen duty, or cleaning. Prisoners earned 80 cents daily, enough to buy 16 candy bars or bottles of Coca-Cola. The Camp Fannin PX inventory from September 1943 lists Coca-Cola, 50 ed, Peps, 50 ed, Talda, pepper, 50 ed, Tald, pepper, 50 ed, Tald and Tad. Packen, pied rating Tald, toothpaste, 50 ed. Comic books, Tald and Tald, playing cards, 250 ed. Most popular items, Coca-Cola, 4,200 bottles weekly. Candy bars, 3,700 weekly. And cigarettes, 1,200 packs weekly. The camp had rules, but they were not harsh. Prisoners had to stay in the camp. They had to work when asked. They had to keep their areas clean, but they could play sports, read books, take classes, and watch movies. Many camps showed Hollywood films twice weekly. Camp Fannin had a 300-book library with German and English books. Prisoners could send 2 letters and 4 postcards monthly. Mail took about 3 months to reach Germany. Menia's first letter arrived home in November 1943. His wife Anna wrote back, "We thought you were dead. Food here gets worse each month. Is it true you have enough to eat?" By winter, Camp Fannin had organized classes taught by prisoners who had been teachers in Germany. Menia took English lessons 3 times weekly. The camp newspaper printed by prisoners had 8 pages with camp news, sports results, and some world news from American papers. One article explained how hamburgers were invented in America and why they were named after a German city. Medical care surprised the prisoners the most. The camp had a 30-bed hospital with 2 American doctors and German medics. Prisoners got the same medicine as American soldiers. Dental care included fillings and even root canals. Monthly checkups tracked prisoner health. Records show the average prisoner gained 12 pounds during his first 6 months in America. The Red Cross visited camps regularly. Their reports noted German prisoners received the same rations as American troops. Housing meets or exceeds Geneva Convention standards. Medical care is excellent. Recreation and education opportunities are abundant. What struck prisoners most was the sameness of treatment. Officers and enlisted men ate identical food. Farm boys and city professors used the same showers. This American equality confused Germans, who were used to strict social ranks. The mess hall became a place where old lines blurred. Men who wouldn't have spoken in Germany now shared tables, passing ketchup for their hamburgers. Prisoners compared notes each evening. Those who had been told Americans would torture them found only rules and routines. Those who expected to die from hunger instead complained of gaining weight. The gap between Nazi warnings and daily reality grew wider with each meal. By Christmas 1943, even dedicated Nazi Party members struggled to maintain their beliefs in the face of simple, undeniable facts served 3 times daily on compartmented trays. The hamburgers, cola, and ice cream weren't just food. They were arguments made of meat and sugar, systematically dismantling years of propaganda with each bite and sip. October 1943, Camp Fannin, Texas. Tuesday meant Hamburger Day. The prisoners lined up with particular anticipation, watching as kitchen staff pressed 5-ounce beef patties onto the massive griddle, where they sizzled and released aromatic compounds that triggered primitive responses in the brain, responses designed for caloric recognition, for identifying protein and fat, for signaling safety and abundance. These weren't simply meals, they were cultural artifacts, their presence communicating information far beyond nutrition. Oberfeldwebel Karl observed the operation with an engineer's precision. Each hamburger contained 80% lean ground beef, mixed with breadcrumbs and spices, grilled 4 minutes per side, placed on enriched white buns baked that morning, dressed with lettuce, sliced tomato, onion, pickles, mustard, and ketchup. Served with French fried potatoes and coleslaw, the meal delivered approximately 1,200 calories, 45 grams of protein, and 25 essential nutrients. The Camp Fannin kitchen produced 1,500 hamburgers every Tuesday and Saturday, requiring 470 pounds of ground beef per service. Behind this simple sandwich lay an entire economic philosophy. The hamburger represented American industrial efficiency, standardization, and abundance democratized for mass consumption. What had begun as a working-class street food in the late 19th century had, by 1943, evolved into an icon of American productive capacity. White Castle, the first hamburger chain, had opened in 1921, selling 5-cent hamburgers by the millions, its success spawning competitors across the country. In Germany, former restaurant owner Hans Müller explained to fellow prisoners, meat like this would be served only in expensive restaurants, in small portions with formal service. In America, it's everyday food for workers and children. This reversal luxury transformed into commonplace, challenged fundamental assumptions about scarcity and privilege. The hamburger wasn't reserved for social elites or party officials, it wasn't rationed, it wasn't a reward. It was simply Tuesday's lunch, available to everyone, prisoners included. The mathematics of meat production told the story. In 1943, despite wartime demands, American beef production reached £8.7 billion. Per capita consumption averaged 54 pounds annually, approximately 5 times the German civilian access. Even with military requirements absorbing 40% of production, American civilians faced no significant meat shortages. German civilians, meanwhile, received theoretical meat rations of 300 grams weekly, approximately 34 pounds annually, but actual distribution had declined to half that amount by 1943. Within Camp Fannin's fence line, this disparity became visceral knowledge. Prisoners witnessed 1,500 hamburgers produced casually twice weekly, representing approximately 750 pounds of ground beef, enough to supply a small German town's weekly ration. The cognitive dissonance intensified as they compared experiences with hamburgers before imprisonment. I had never eaten beef so frequently, even before the war. Former Wehrmacht communications specialist Wilhelm Schmidt wrote in a diary recovered after repatriation. The Americans consider hamburgers ordinary food, not special. They serve them in camps, schools, factories, everywhere. This casual abundance makes me question everything we were told about American society. By December 1943, prisoners traced hamburgers through the American food system. Those working on agricultural details witnessed cattle operations delivering animals to processing facilities. Others employed at camp warehouses unloaded refrigerated trucks containing preformed patties from regional suppliers. Those assigned to kitchen duty operated industrial meat grinders, capable of processing 200 pounds hourly. The entire system from ranch to mess hall demonstrated coordination, standardization, and efficiency that German industry hadn't achieved even at its pre-war peak. The hamburger's cultural significance transcended its nutritional value. When served with cold Coca-Cola, representing another industrial miracle of standardization and distribution, the meal embodied American productive philosophy. Mass production didn't diminish quality, but democratized it. Standardization didn't restrict access, but expanded it. Industry didn't serve only military needs, but civilian desires as well. Americans approach abundance differently, observed former economics professor Dr. Ernst Hoffman in lectures given to fellow prisoners. They believe everyone should have access to goods, not just elites. They produce not just enough, but too much, purposely. This overproduction creates widespread access rather than artificial scarcity for control. The camp's weekly hamburger service thus performed educational work that no propaganda film could achieve. Each beef patty on a white bun delivered empirical evidence of American productive capacity. Each bite conveyed information about agricultural systems, industrial organization, and distribution networks. Tuesday's lunch wasn't just feeding prisoners, it was systematically dismantling their understanding of economic reality, replacing Nazi scarcity doctrines with demonstrated abundance. Reprogramming their expectations, not through arguments but through the irrefutable logic of hot food, served with cold drinks, week after week, with mechanical reliability. January 1944, rural Texas. The morning frost dissolved as Oberfeldwebel Karl and 23 other German prisoners climbed into the open-back army truck. Labor shortages had transformed enemies into essential workers. Under the Geneva Convention's provisions, enlisted prisoners could be required to work in non-combat roles. By early 1944, approximately 95,000 German prisoners worked daily on American farms, factories, and forests, filling positions vacated by Americans now fighting in Europe and the Pacific. The truck stopped at Wilson's Diner, a roadside establishment 17 miles from Camp Fannin. 2 armed guards, rifles unloaded per protocol, escorted the prisoners inside. The unexpected scene, prisoners dining alongside American civilians, became increasingly common as labor programs expanded. Military regulations prohibited fraternization, but economic necessity created daily proximity that regulations couldn't prevent. "Coffee for everyone?" asked Sarah Miller, the waitress, addressing guards and prisoners identically. The laminated menu offered hamburgers, 3 5-carnes cheeseburgers, 40 carnes chicken fried steak, 65 carnes titty, and meatloaf, 55 carnes, portions and prices inconceivable in wartime Germany. Prisoners earning 80 carnes daily could afford these meals directly from their accumulated wages. The conceptual revolution, enemy soldiers carrying sufficient American currency to purchase American meals while still prisoners, represented cognitive dissonance made manifest. Military records document 38 million prisoner work days performed during 1944 to 45. Agricultural labor predominated. Prisoners harvested cotton in Texas, oranges in Florida, apples in Michigan, and wheat in Kansas. Industrial assignments included logging in Washington, pulpwood production in Georgia, and cannery operations in California. Camp Fannin prisoners primarily supported East Texas agriculture, harvesting crops and processing produce that would feed American civilians and overseas forces. Through these work programs, prisoners witnessed American society functioning beyond camp boundaries. They observed racial dynamics, gender roles, economic classes, and everyday interactions, gaining anthropological insights no formal instruction could provide. Most striking was the casual abundance visible everywhere, grocery stores stocking 500 distinct products, when German shops offered fewer than 200 heavily rationed items, roadside produce stands selling seconds as animal feed that exceeded quality standards for German human consumption, farm families serving multi-course meals to working prisoners without apparent sacrifice. By June 1944, censors recorded significant shifts in prisoner correspondence. Letters home increasingly contained qualified admissions about American conditions. Though strategic information remained prohibited, personal observations flowed through. Americans eat very well despite the war. Working Americans receive good wages and can buy many products. American factories produce incredible quantities with amazing efficiency. Sometimes these letters included carefully coded comparisons undermining Nazi propaganda. The weather here is much warmer than official reports suggested, signaling that American reality contradicted German official descriptions. Military intelligence noted increasing instances of prisoners requesting that families disregard previous negative characterizations of American society. The most profound transformations occurred through mundane interactions. American farmers sharing lunch breaks with prisoners, offering cigarettes and discussing crop yields, local diners where prisoners ordered identical meals as guards, farm wives providing homemade cookies as work incentives. These daily demonstrations of American casual prosperity accomplished what formal re-education programs couldn't: visceral knowledge replacing abstract propaganda. By autumn 1944, as news of Allied advances reached the camps, prisoners' perspectives underwent further evolution. Newly captured Germans arrived with increasingly desperate accounts of conditions in the homeland. The contrast between these reports and prisoners' direct American experience intensified ideological fracturing. Camp records document declining participation in Nazi-oriented activities and increasing attendance at English classes, American history lectures, and technical training. Letters to Germany now sometimes included small luxuries, coffee packets, chocolate, cigarettes, transforming communication into material relief. The psychological inversion was complete, prisoners in America sending sustenance to free civilians in Germany. This role reversal, captives supporting the supposedly free, delivered the final irrefutable evidence that the Reich's promised thousand-year dominance had inverted into dependence, its claimed superiority revealed as systematic deprivation, its vaunted efficiency exposed as artificial scarcity, lessons taught not through indoctrination, but through hamburgers, Coca-Cola, and everyday abundance casually shared with the very enemies who had once expected execution. June 1946, Hamburg, Germany. Oberfeldwebel Karl Meier stood amid the rubble of his former neighborhood, a cardboard suitcase containing his possessions in one hand, a paper-wrapped package in the other. The contrast between the America he had just left and the Germany he returned to could not have been more stark. Behind him, abundance, organization, intact infrastructure. Before him, devastation, hunger, collapse. The repatriation process began in November 1945, 6 months after Germany's surrender. Army Medical Corps records show the physical transformation of prisoners during captivity: average weight gain of 19.7 pounds, improved dental health, resolution of nutritional deficiencies, decreased incidence of tuberculosis and other communicable diseases. The men who had expected execution upon capture were returning healthier than when they had left Germany as soldiers. Final medical examinations included precise documentation: height, weight, dental status, vaccination record, and current medications. Camp Fannin's records note Meier's statistics: weight increase from 143 pounds at capture to 172 pounds at release. 6 dental fillings performed, vaccinations for typhoid, smallpox, and diphtheria. Excellent overall health. Similar improvements appeared across prisoner populations, men who had survived American mistreatment returning more robust than compatriots who had remained free in Germany. The package Mia carried represented repatriation allowance, 2 pounds of coffee, 5 chocolate bars, 1 carton of cigarettes, and 10 cans of preserved meat, items that had become ordinary during imprisonment but now constituted treasures. Military logistics had calculated these provisions would support a returning prisoner's family for approximately 1 month while they re-established themselves in devastated Germany. Military government surveys conducted in 1947 to 48 revealed the profound impact of returning prisoners. Former POWs consistently demonstrated more positive attitudes toward democracy, market economies, and American institutions than Germans who hadn't experienced American captivity. The causal mechanism wasn't political re-education, but lived experience, direct observation of functional systems, producing widespread prosperity. I returned expecting to find my family mourning my absence, former prisoner Wilhelm Schmidt wrote in a 1952 memoir. Instead, they were astonished by my appearance. I had gained weight in captivity, while they had grown gaunt in freedom. This visible evidence accomplished what no propaganda could, a complete reversal of our understanding about which system truly served its people. When the Marshall Plan began implementing European recovery in 1948, former prisoners became unexpected advocates. They had witnessed American productive capacity firsthand and understood it wasn't magical but methodical, systems and processes that could be adapted to German reconstruction. Their testimony that American generosity stemmed from genuine abundance rather than political calculation helped overcome skepticism about American motives. The food experiences in American camps influenced post-war German business development. Former POWs established 172 hamburger restaurants across West Germany between 1947 and 1955. Coca-Cola's reintroduction to the German market in 1949 was facilitated by former prisoners who had developed a taste for the beverage during captivity. The first German Coca-Cola bottling plant employed 6 former POWs in management positions, their familiarity with the product and production methods gained during imprisonment. Perhaps most significantly, the experience transformed political perspectives. A 1955 study by the University of Hamburg found that former POWs were 64% more likely to support democratic institutions than demographically matched Germans without American captivity experience. This wasn't primarily from formal democracy education in the camps, but from witnessing a society where prosperity extended beyond elites, where ordinary citizens and even enemy prisoners had access to hamburgers, Coca-Cola, and everyday abundance. The statistical summary tells the story: 425,000 German prisoners experienced American captivity. 99.1% survived compared to 65 to 85% survival rates in Soviet captivity. Average weight gain 12–20 pounds. Significant health improvements, exposure to American agricultural and industrial methods, direct observation of functional market economies. These men who had expected execution instead received education through experience, returning as cultural translators between American and German societies. What began as the humanitarian treatment of defeated enemies evolved into perhaps the most effective ideological transformation program in military history. The men who had been systematically prepared to fear American brutality became America's most credible advocates in post-war Germany, their testimony made irrefutable by their physical appearance. They had expected execution but received hamburgers and Coca-Cola instead, a generosity that accomplished what no military conquest could: the complete reconstruction of an enemy's understanding of America and themselves.